turn. Jet is your 2017 World Champion.
And welcome to the 2018 Swatch DRL Tryouts. I am Josh Soleil, and alongside me is fellow caster and drone racing league expert Tony Niddle. We are live from the Mixer NYC studio at the flagship Microsoft store in New York.
That's right, folks. Today promises to deliver some intense drone racing action and heated competition. But before we get into more, let's check in with our host, Susanna Collins.
Thanks, guys. That's right. I'm Susanna Collins, and I'll be following along with what you have to say on Mixer and on Twitter, so make sure you use that hashtag MicrosoftNYC and hashtag Swatch DRL Tryouts to join in on that conversation. I'll be giving shout-outs to some of my favorite comments, so let me know your thoughts. Now, if you're new to the sport, here's a closer look at the Drone Racing League simulator. Check it out.
DRL is the world's premier drone racing league, bringing professional drone racing to audiences around the globe.
We came out of nowhere for the win. Amazing racing.
The DRL simulator creates virtual racing using a realistic quadcopter physics engine on courses modeled exactly off the real DRL events. The skills needed here are almost identical to racing real drones, so you get to compare your times against the pros. Each year, the top players in our online tournament get to compete live, testing their ability to perform in real time when the pressure is on. The winner becomes a pro pilot in the real DRL season. Jaws, the winner of our 2017 tournament, went on to win Level 4, the Boston Foundry. So whether you're learning the basics or racing the pros, all you need is a laptop and any of the 40 supported controllers to get in the air.
Now, earlier today, 24 players arrived to compete in our qualifying rounds. These players traveled from all over the world, including Australia, Norway, and France, as well as California, Missouri, and North Carolina.
Players raced in groups of 6, with each group competing on the challenging London map. They battled through 4 heats to determine who from each group would continue on in the competition.
Now, let's see which 12 players advanced out from our qualifying round. The quarterfinal brackets were intense, racing multiple crashes and lead changes, the best of the best. Will they have what it takes to move forward? Now, these players are still in the running for a $75,000 contract to become the Swatch Pilot in the 2018 DRL Allianz World Championship season.
With our top 12 set, we're now in the semifinal round.
In each heat, the players earn points based on how they finish. They get 10 points for first place, 7 for second, and on down to 0 for sixth place. You don't have to win every heat, but it certainly helps. In both semifinal groups, the 3 players with the most points after 5 heats advance to the finals.
There in the finals, the player with the most points after 7 heats earns the coveted $75,000 Swatch Pro Piloting contract. Now let's take a look at the 6 players competing in our first group. First up, flying in the red drone. It's Fine KD from Allentown, Pennsylvania at the age 23. His favorite map, the 2017 London World Championship.
And that proved true. Second place in his bracket, coming in very hot. He is very excited. Look at that smile. I think he has a good chance.
I think so. In the blue drone, it's UFO from Healdsburg, California, at age 32. His favorite map, the Boston Foundry.
The only player to win every single quarterfinal heat. He is the one to watch.
Absolutely. Next up, it's FPR Dan in yellow from Newcastle, New South Wales at age 27. His favorite map, Gates of Hell.
Which we'll see how he does. He will be starting in the Gates of Hell. He had a shaky start in the beginning of the quarterfinals, but he had a strong finish.
We'll see what he can do here. Next, it's Royal in the purple drone from Fayetteville, North Carolina at age 26. Also his favorite map, the Boston Foundry.
He just edged out, and he will be battling it out very tough. I hope he can do it. Let's see.
We'll find out. Next in the green drone, it's Speed Freak from Niagara, Ontario at age 26. Another Boston Foundry favorite map.
He was playing catch-up for most of the quarterfinals, but he safely secured a spot.
We'll see what he can do next. And last but certainly not least, in the orange drone, it's the Herder from Mundelein, Illinois at age 24 from also his favorite map, the Boston Foundry.
He secured a spot after much crashing in the quarterfinals. I would be very nervous if I were him.
We'll see.
So both of our semifinalist groups will be competing on the same map, Gates of Hell Woods. Tony, what are the pain points for this map?
Well, this map is a deceiving map, okay? It starts out very straightforward, a wide open, nice straight line course. It seems like you can just full throttle. And at this point, you really can. Open the throttle up, pitch forward, and really take flight here. Now the challenge is up ahead. Not necessarily here. You go upwards towards these power lines, and you hit one of these power lines, and that can send you reeling right back to the ground. If you can quickly recover, you can get back into position. Now it's a swoop down next to this power line and then back down into the woods. A little bit of a slalom here. We're zigzagging from right to left around the bend, and up ahead, that's where it gets really tricky. You'll see here the pilots will take off up towards this bridge. Now they've got a corkscrew maneuver that they have to go through. Underneath the first section through 2 gates and back over the top. The trick here, stay as close and as tight to the bridge as you possibly can. It's back underneath again through 2 more yellow gates, then a hard right through 1 more here on the side. Now, if it wasn't hard enough yet, this is where they have to go up to the very top of the bridge. Again, another trick to stay as tight as you possibly can. And now the drop. Increase the throttle to get down faster. Hope that you don't hit the ground. They're going to go over the train tracks and over this berm and through the forest. They've got a few trees to dodge, and then it's a straight shot right to the finish.
All right, we are now into the first heat. Tony, who do you think will win?
Ooh, putting me on the spot. I like it. Fine KD, UFO, and FPR Dan are my top 3 choices for this heat. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. They were definitely the top in the quarterfinals. I'm very excited. Let's see if UFO gains his chi again like he was doing last time.
He was doing a lot of meditating earlier, having his eyes closed, really just kind of concentrating and thinking. And you know what? It paid off for him. He did fantastic. Here we go, heat number 1. The Herder starting off in the front, now quickly drops into 4th. Fine KD was in the top and now drops to 4th. They're all just switching places now. Back with the Herder up top. UFO moves into the mix. It's just a battle here between first place right now. Everyone's swapping positions. Let's find out who's going to hold it the longest. FPR Dan's view as he goes up the power lines and dropping back down the other side. UFO moves into first place with FPR Dan being pushed to 2nd. Here's the Herder's view. Just behind Fine KD and UFO. They're off to his side. You can't quite see him in his sight right now. But he knows he's got other competitors in his sights. FPR's Dan's view. And now Fine moves into 2nd place. Under the bridge. Nice and tight. Great job from FPR Dan to stay close to that bridge line. A hard right and preloads his turn. That's a beautiful run so far. FPR Dan sweep up top. That's a good strategy, dropping in the center of the top of that bridge and increasing his throttle on the way down. A nice save, a little bit of a wobble, but not too much. And he's looking good in 2nd place. The Herder's view from 3rd. Here they are, Fine KD, your first place winner, a 104.65 with FPR Dan hot on his tail. The Herder with a 105 in 3rd. We still got one more. Royal will round out the end of the pack with 6th place overall.
Amazing. You said the average time for this map was around 103, 105, and we definitely saw that.
Yeah, these guys are hitting 104 marks. That's a great time. This is exactly where they want to be.
Now explain, UFO was about 1st or 2nd, and he dropped down to 4th. What happened there?
He could have just simply connected with one of the trees or maybe even the power line. I didn't quite catch what exactly happened, but he didn't have enough momentum to catch right back up. He held on to his position when he did drop, but unfortunately wasn't enough to get back to the top.
Yeah, and the quarterfinals were a harder map, the London, and now yes, we are in an easier map, but it now becomes a mental game as well.
Absolutely. I told you earlier, this is a deceiving map because it seems so simple, but in reality, you make one mistake and it'll send you back far in the group.
Yeah, so we have our point bracket right here. Fine KD rounding it out with 10, FPR Dan 1 at 7, the Herder at 5, UFO at 3, Speed Freak at 1, and Royal at 0. What does Royal need to do in order to get back up?
Well, he's going to have to get back on his mental game, get it straight in his head that what he's doing, he knows how to do. He's done it 100 times, if not more than that. These guys know this track. They've practiced hours and hours and hours. And when I say hours, I mean over 100 easily. So they know what they're doing. He knows what he needs to do. He just needs to focus and concentrate and let go of the fact that there's cameras and crews all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a different game when you're playing live in a studio.
Let's take a look at the replay. You can see the Herder was in the lead, dropped back down, and then goes right back up and down. FPR Dan jumping into the mix, drops into third, and then moves up to second. These guys are going from first to third to fourth, just kind of moving around. They're all kind of feeling each other. They're so close that's why they're able to jump up and down so easily. Now, no major mistakes so far up to the power lines and dropping back over. That was the Herder's view. Here's Speed Freak. You can see he's got an immense pitch on that forward momentum. Dropping back into the forest. This is the Herder's view. Now, Fine and FPR Dan and UFO are so close you can hardly see them at times. This is FPR Dan's view from second place. Fine must have passed him just on the side, but you couldn't quite see that there. And he moved into first and then dropped right back down. He does a great job handling this bridge, very, very close to it. And then again, you'll see that as he goes up through the center, as opposed to following that red race line, he cuts it off and goes through the center. And that's okay. There's no disqualifications for that. As long as he makes his gates and checkpoints, he's fine. A great strategy on his point. Ends up holding on to second place all the way through to the finish.
And we were talking earlier about that line. Some players can choose to not have it on the screen. Would you rather have it or not have it?
Now, I prefer not to have the line whatsoever. If it's there, it throws me off. That line is going to stay in the very center of the track, so if you have a right side and a left side, it's always going to be right down the middle. And that may not always be the best option when flying these courses. Sometimes you want to be on the outside, sometimes you want to be on the inside, sometimes you want to be a little higher, a little lower, because we're working with different dimensions here, not just a linear course.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get into the second heat. Tony, from what you've seen, do you think UFO can come back?
I think he can. I mean, he did a tremendous job earlier today in the qualifications. He knows what he's doing. I think he's going to be great.
Awesome. I'm excited to see. There he is gaining his chi again.
Always has his eyes closed and doing that meditation, which is great. I mean,
it's helpful.
It absolutely is. And like I said, he did it earlier, and it worked for him. Here we go. Heat number 2 here. UFO jumping into the front of the pack ahead of Fine, KD, and FPR Dan. Not a whole lot of movement like we saw in the first one. These guys have got their throttle and their pitch already pinned, and they're feeling comfortable at this point. You can see the Herder right behind trying to push ahead, and he does push it into second. UFO in first place. He must be right above FPR Dan. We don't see him in the shot. There he is. Comes back into position, and on the drop down into the forest, UFO still staying in his sights. FPR Dan holding on to second place. Fine KD is kind of jumping all over the place. He went from second to fourth and then went to first, and now he's back. This is FPR Dan's through the bridge. The Herder now over the top of the bridge and dropping back down. Slight wobble in there. Almost hits the edge of the gate, but holds on tight. It's the incline race to the top. UFO's view in first place. Fine KD trying to get into the mix.
We see their focus.
They are. UFO in second place. Fine KD holding on to first, not letting go. Looks like he might be able to get past. UFO does it at the last second. Look at that, a 104.44. Fine with a 104.46. Man, that was close.
Woo! Just edged it out, 0.2 milliseconds.
That was incredible. Just at the last minute, just stole just right past him to take the win.
And that's, I would say, not following the line.
No, exactly. Then that's what I was talking about earlier. The best lines are not always that red line. That's just simply to show you which way to go on the course, if you will. It can get confusing at times. Don't use that as a race path, but more as just where the course is.
Now, 4 players got all in the same second, 104. They are neck and neck. And this is an extra heat. We're playing 5 heats now instead of 4. So they have time for people to come back up.
They do. We got a little bit of changes on the leaderboard. Let's take a look.
We have Fine Kitty at 17, UFO at 13. We have a tie at 10 for Dan and Herder, and Speed Freak and Royal 2-0. Now, Royal has a lot of catching up to do.
He certainly does. Unfortunately for him, 2 goose eggs on the boards. Heat 1 and 2, 6th place. He gets no points for those. But There's 5 heats overall. We've got 3 more to go. He's got time to get himself into the top 3. Remember, the whole goal here is to play a consistent game of flying. Get points on the board in a consistent manner. It's not about trying to get first place every single heat. It's about placing high enough to get enough points to get in the top 3.
Yeah, you were mentioning before about pressuring, pushing yourself. Does Royal now have to push himself harder?
Well, I think he does. I mean, he is behind the 8 ball here. He's got no points on the board, unfortunately, and everyone else does. He's not tied in 0 with anybody else, so he does have a lot more pressure here to get himself to the top of the leaderboard. Like I said, he has 3 heats to do it, so it can still happen. He can still get himself into the top 3, and that's what it's about. Get to the top 3 to move on. Let's take a look at the replay. UFO jumps into the lead and holds on fairly strong. Fine KD and FPR Dan battling back and forth behind him, but then the Herder jumps into the mix. You can see UFO's got a really solid moving drone. He's not fluttering around. He's holding nice and tight up through the power lines and then back down. No major complications here. This is FBR Dan's. He got a smooth transition turn, dropping into the forest. A lot of times those trees can get you, but he did a great job holding on to it. And look at the turn here. This is FBR Dan. That was FBR Dan's view. It was nice and smooth the whole way through. Fine KD's view. Now back to FPR. He handles the bridge really well. This is the Herder's view as he goes over top of the bridge and drops back down. It has a little wobble, but it doesn't hurt him anywhere. He's able to hold on, and then UFO and Fine jump right on past him. The drop down is the tricky part. Okay, that drop right there, the idea is to pitch your drone over to where you're inverted and then increase the throttle all the way down. These guys did a great job.
Now, do you think UFO is now in Fine KD's head?
I think absolutely was. I mean, he was behind in the first round and then jumped right up instantly. I mean, he had to bring it back to show that he can do this and put some pressure on the other guys, and he did great.
Yeah, and this is the first time UFO has lost, or not, I don't want to say lost, but did not get first in a heat.
Yeah, he did great in the qualifications earlier with nothing but 10s across the board for that guy. And so having that first run where he only gets 3 points, that's got to mess with his head just a little bit, but I think he certainly has what it takes to get himself and stay up there on top.
If you were to choose your #1 bracket contender for this bracket, what would you choose?
Ooh, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Huh? All right. I'll bite. I'm going to, looking at the performance from UFO, I have to obviously throw him out there. I mean, 40 points in the qualification rounds, 4 solid first place wins in a row. Yeah, that's incredible. It's huge. It doesn't happen very often at all. So for him to do that, I think he'll be the one.
Now let's go over to our host, Susanna Collins, for a social media check-in.
Thanks so much, guys. That's right. I'm Susanna Collins, and let's see what you guys had to say on Mixer and on Twitter. Well, over on the Mixer, user Nozdro said, FPR Dan 1 is going to put on a show for you people. Woo! So pumped. Indeed, he is. And we've got user LNE213 is excited for things to start, saying, let the party begin. I can tell you the party has certainly begun. It's already started here. And we've got tons of fans on the simulation with Mixer user J Mitch Plays Games letting you know this is awesome. I can contest for that. And finally, SSG Clue said, I need to get back to the flagship Microsoft store when I was there when it first opened. You definitely have to get back here. It is so sick downstairs. Check it out. Guys, I'm going to be here all night long chatting, so make sure you let me know what your thoughts are. And remember, you can check out the DRL simulation yourself. It's available right now on Steam. But for now, let's head it back over to our casters to start the next heat.
Thank you, Susanna. Now, hey guys, this is a reminder that the 2018 DRL AWC is coming in September to ESPN, Sky Sports, 7 Max M, Disney XD, and other broadcast partners around the world. So be sure to check that out. All right, we're about to get into the next heat. Sony, you said UFO is your man for the #1 spot. Let's see if that proves true.
I think he's going to be able to do it. I mean, he's proven himself in the past, and I think he can prove it again. Look at that focus on his face.
Yeah, Fine Kid definitely has a good focus as well. I mean, all these players have a wonderful focus.
But that alone right there, that's over what the rest of these guys are. He's trying to shut out everything around him. He's trying to shut out our voices. He's just trying to think about what he needs to do in this next heat. Here we go on our next heat. Off the podiums with a fine start. Fine KD jumps into first, but quickly loses it. You can see the Herder in the orange color moves into front, and now it's just a back and forth motion. Who's going to be able to hold steady long enough? Who's going to get that pitch all the way hard enough forward to where they can hold that fast line? FPR Dan in yellow is doing a fantastic job. UFO just behind him with the Herder, also in third. Here's his view over the power lines, cuts it really close to the edge of that. Doesn't go around the power lines, but instead stays tight to the inside He'll sweep back down to the forest. This is the herder's view. Now this is Find KD's view around the bend here. They're going to have to swing back up for the bridge and do a corkscrew maneuver underneath and back over the top. This is FPR Dan's view underneath. Nice and tight to the bridge. No problems there. Find KD doing a great job trying to move up the leaderboards as well. Him and FPR Dan battling back and forth. Who's going to cut this bridge the quickest and the shortest? Looks like FPR Dan's going to push it. Ooh, that's close. Find KD hits the ledge in red. He goes down, quickly recovers, but unfortunately he's in 5th. FPR Dan stays in 1st. He's in yellow. The herder in 2nd place. They'll come in 1st and 2nd with a 104. Man,
that was
what
a huge crash.
That Find KD, that crash devastated. I mean, one little crash, remember I talked about it earlier, one small crash can throw you all the way back, and it's difficult to recover, especially because this course is so long. It's not a short course, it's not a smaller course, it's a longer, straighter course, and that's exactly what kind of threw him back, that mistake.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. UFO was able to get past him just because of that crash. UFO was in 4th.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he stayed in 4th. He wasn't able to move up to the front of the pack. FBR Dan, however, did a fantastic job staying tight to the lines. The herder was kind of right with him most of the time. And a great time overall with 104.33.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, let's go for the score right here. FPR Dan, 20 points leading the way. Find KD at 18. The herder not far away with 17. And UFO 1 point behind with 16. Royale with 5. And Speed Freak with 2. How important is it to get off the podium as fast as possible?
It's pretty important, okay? That can set the tone and the pace for the whole race, right? If they can get off that podium and get to the front of the pack and hold on to that for at least the first quarter of the track, that gives you a little sense of accomplishment and a sense of confidence as well, that you got this, you could do this. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm doing everything fine. Just keep on doing it. Stay tight to the insides, hold the lines nice and close to the edges, and you're fine. But look at what Find KD, one small little minute mistake coming down that drop, hits the edge of the gate, sends him for a tumble. He probably had to hit reset, which sent him back above the gate or near the gate, and just unfortunately unable to recover.
Yeah, what I think is wild is FPR Dan, 3 points in the 2nd heat and 10 in the 3rd heat.
Yeah.
That is a huge bump up, which got him to 1st place.
Yeah, he's doing what he needs to do. Let's take a look at the replay. You can see these 3 drones, red, yellow, and orange, along with our blue drone and UFO, all staying close to each other. Not a whole lot of movement here. No one doing any extraneous movements. No one's jumping up or down. They're all kind of on the same line, more or less. And then it gets kind of interesting as they go up top the power lines. This is when the inclines change, okay? This is the herder's view. He chooses to stay inside the power lines here and then drop left just like everyone else would, but the other pilots or players would go around the power lines. Find KD's view around the bend. He holds it tight to the columns. You can see how close he is. Takes back to the inside. FPR Dan did a great job coming in here as well. Holds close to the edge on top of the bridge and dropping back in. Find KD trying to take a pass here, and he does end up getting one. And again, the battle right here. This is where it all comes down to this drop. You can see he goes completely inverted, increases the throttle, but misses and hits the edge of that gate. That sends him to the ground and gives everyone else the opportunity to take ahead of him. UFO, unfortunately, he's so far back here, and even though they can see him in the distance and it doesn't appear to be that far back, in a track like this, that's far back.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 2 more heats left.
2 more. And unfortunately, I was really looking forward to UFO bringing it back in that heat. And with 3 points in the first one, 10, and then now back to 3. It's not the way he wants to go, obviously. I think he's going to need a little bit more meditation to get himself into a solid 1st or 2nd to get some good points on the board.
I definitely agree with that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but 30 points, you're clinched.
Yeah, I believe it's 30 points now. We have 5 heats. It's a little different than what we had in qualifications, but we'll have to get some clarification on that. But 30 points, and you're sitting pretty solid. If you can grab a hold of those 30 points within those first 3 heats, well, that's great. But that requires 3 first-place finishes in a row, and so far no one's done that here. We had UFO do that earlier today, though.
Now let's head over to our host, Susanna Collins, for an interview with one of our players.
All right, Dan, nicely done in those first 3 heats. You're leading the pack right now. For you, what's going to be the key to keep momentum on your side?
Really, all the preparation comes before the tournament. Really, I think everyone here knows what to do and how to execute it. It's just who can really hold on to their nerves and sort of control everything at the moment.
You mentioned the nerves. The casters talked about it. It's one thing playing at home, but another thing playing in front of cameras, a live audience, the bright lights. How do you maintain those nerves?
Yeah, it's really just thinking positive, really. Just realize that the adrenaline, the excitement when you get here really can just help your game and really help you improve.
When you look at this group here, who do you see as your biggest competition?
Yeah, really, I think UFO and Fine have been doing really well all day. They're really putting up some top times. I think UFO, even in the first round, he took first place in all his qualifiers. So I think he's doing really well, and I can see really getting there in the finals too.
Thanks so much for the time. Good luck rest of the way. Let's send it back to our casters.
Thank you, Susanna. Now, while we're getting set up for our next heat, let's check out what happened yesterday when our players arrived at the Swatch store in Times Square. Take a look. Okay, we're about to get into our next heat. Tony, it is a close race. Do you change your prediction?
I gotta hold on. I'm just grasping on to the hopes of UFO just really dominating here, especially with what we saw in the qualifications. So with that being said, I'm still holding on to UFO. I want to see him make that comeback.
Yeah. Would you say the drop is the hardest part of this map?
Yes and no. I would say that the incline up to the drop is a difficult portion because you got to try and stay as close as you can. The problem is that you're increasing throttle to get up there, right? Well, you've got to now stop increasing throttle and hope that you don't continue to fly and then cut back down. So that transition is a little difficult.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see. I hope Fine KD does not crash again because that really pushed him back.
Yeah, that did. That was devastating. But we'll find out. The UFO concentrating as well. Fine KD's got a good concentration as well. All right, next heat, here we go. Got a little bit of lag here, but all of a sudden we're back in the mix. It's UFO, FPR, Dan, and the Herder. You're 1, 2, 3 screaming down this long curved straight, more or less. Still holding on to those same positions. No major changes going on here. Fine KD currently in 4th place, moves into 3rd. Nicely done with that transition pass. The Herder's view up top the power lines. Now it's Fine KD. Now in 2nd, he's moving himself up the ranks. This is what he needs. The drop back down into the forest. UFO just in front of him in his sights. FTR Dan moves into the mix. He's right next to Fine KD. They're on top of each other, essentially. It's the bridge next. UFO holding on. A beautiful turn here. UFO swings wide. Fine KD cuts it short. He's going to try and take the pass. Is he going to be able to do it? I'm not sure. No, UFO holds on. Nicely done from him. FPR Dan's view from 3rd place behind them. A beautiful transition over the top of that. And here they come through the forest. UFO still in 1st. FPR Dan in yellow in 2nd. Fine KD in red in 3rd. Into the finish, it's a 104.21 for UFO. FPR Dan in 2nd. Fine KD holds on to 3rd place.
And that is exactly what UFO needed.
That's it right there. That's this confidence builder that he needs to get back in his momentum. You can see a big sigh kind of from him. You can see his chest big up. He's relaxing. He's falling back in his groove. This is what he needs. He knows what he's doing. The guy's good. And all he's got to do is just execute it.
Yeah, absolutely. Millisecond difference between UFO and FPR Dan. It is insane how neck and neck these all 3 of these players are. What would you say going into the next heat is going through Fine KD or FPR Dan's mind right now that UFO clinched, not clinched, but got this 1st place?
Well, they know this guy can do it. I mean, they've raced with him in the past. They understand what he's capable of doing. So, especially after that 1st place win, now they're thinking, I'm going to step it up a little bit. We've only got, 1 heat left to go. UFO moves himself into 2nd overall with 26 points, 3 points ahead of Fine KD. Really what needs to go on is the Herder. The Herder's in 4th. He's on the fence right now from catching himself into the top 3 to move on to the finals with 20 points overall. If he has a good run here, he can get himself up there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It is crazy how close these semifinals are, much closer than the quarterfinals, I would say. And if we have the replay,
let's take a look. We had a little issue in the beginning there. Once they all finally caught up, you can see the herder, I'm sorry, UFO, FPR Dan, and the herder held on to 1, 2, 3 all the way through the straight. Fine KD trying to stay as close to the inside as possible. You can see UFO as well, and staying low to the ground. UFO in the lead and holds on from here out. Doesn't seem to lose that the entire pace. He's got a nice solid line. He's cutting the insides just the way he needs to. He's got a great pitch on his drone. He's not wobbling around or waving around this map too much. This is FPR Dan's view from just behind him. And you can see UFO did a great transition from the inside straight to the other inside of the turns, right? And now up top through over the top of the bridge. Fine KD, I thought he was going to take the pass here. He was cutting it very close, and you can see UFO swung a little wide out there to the left. Fine KD, unfortunately, not able to take the pass there. And again, another great transition from FPR Dan on the way down from that bridge. I really thought that Fine or FPR Dan was going to be able to take over first place and kick UFO back down. But luckily for UFO, he held on tight.
now, I would say all 4 of those players, they do not have breathing room right now.
No, they don't. These numbers are too close right now. You know, sometimes we can find a big point spread, right? I mean, look at the qualification rounds. UFO was holding on to first place. And so that bumped him with a nice big buffer. Here, we don't have that luxury. These guys have to make every moment count. A lot of times they can get a little breathing room with point spreads, but they're not doing it here.
How much do you think their hands are shaking right now?
A lot. I think it's now that we're live, okay, you know, yes, we had cameras earlier as well, but it's a little different now that we're live. The nerves are even more stronger, and you got to remember that adrenaline rush that goes through your body, it all gets released from your fingers. That's the only thing moving while you're sitting in these chairs flying these courses. They can't move around at all. So the only thing they got is their fingers to release that adrenaline.
Yeah, absolutely. We're about to start the last and final heat of this semifinal bracket. Do you think UFO can make it to the top?
I do. I'm holding on.
Holding on.
I'm holding on. I think he will. Thumbs up from these guys saying they are ready to move forward to start the race. That dedication and concentration in UFO's face is incredible.
Yeah, he's calm, which is that's exactly what you need.
Yeah. Here we go, our final heat. Off the start, it looked like Fine KD. He did, got right in the front of the pack, but unfortunately the next checkpoint dropped him back just a little bit. He might not have had a solid pitch on his drone, and that's what allowed these other guys to make the pass. UFO currently in first place, FPR Dan right behind him, and Fine KD in red holding on to 3rd overall. The Herder, Royal, and Speed Freak rounding out the bottom 6. The incline all the way up the power lines, cutting it close to the top of the edge. Looks like all of these guys are cutting through the center of the power lines as opposed to sweeping around them. UFO still holding on to the lead. FPR Dan trying to push him. He's within striking distance now. If he can cut these turns on the bridge, that's his opportunity and his chance. He drops to 3rd. Fine KD moves back up and then drops back down. A slight wobble from FPR Dan, but he takes the pass. UFO gets bumped from 2nd down to 3rd now. FPR Dan in the lead. Oh, makes a mistake. Fine KD capitalizes on that. It's going to be his run to lose. He drops to 3rd. FPR Dan back in the mix. These guys are all over the place. UFO back to 1st place. FPR Dan moves into 2nd, and Fine KD in red back to his 3rd place position. It'll be UFO's race.
Oh my God.
Woo-hoo! With a 104.34.
What a final heat.
That was intense.
That was the craziest heat I've seen.
That was incredible. I mean, these guys were just up and then down and then the front of the pack and then moving to the middle of the pack. That was a 3-way battle between those guys, UFO, FPR Dan, and Fine KD. An incredible 5th heat.
You called it.
This is great. I loved it.
You called it from the start. Now, with that last heat, it was definitely a mental game at that point.
Yeah,
you can tell these guys are making mistakes they have never made before.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, this is the simple track, right? This is just not a lot of complicated maneuvers here on this track. Yeah, they're a little tricky, but they are certainly not very complicated in relation to what we've seen in other tracks. These guys know these tracks like the back of their hand, so it's just a matter of grabbing a hold of those nerves and pushing them aside and saying, I got this.
Yeah, we have the results, the final results. UFO, the lead with 36. He will clinch. FPR Dan 1, who will also clinch at 34. And Fine KD, the last 3rd clinching spot at 28. The Herder, Royal, and Speed Freak will not be moving on, but they had a valiant effort.
They did. I mean, the herder, he was trying hard. I mean, you could see in the beginning of his heat 1, 2, and 3, trying to stay consistent with 5, 5, and 7 points. Unfortunately, heat 4 started to go back downhill, and then heat 5 just didn't happen for him. Unfortunately, those guys will be going home, but the other 3 will be moving on.
Now, how important is camera angle? Oh, we got a replay. Let's go to that first.
Let's take a look at this real quick. You can see all 6 pilots are right here on the screen in the mix. No one's too far back. No one's too far ahead. Everyone's really close at this point, which means that all these guys had great starts off the podiums. They held on strong. Everyone's got a solid angle on their drone to hold it steady, and then it's the incline. Here's when we move around a little bit. Everyone trying to stay tight to the top of that power line and then swing back on the inside. Watching out for these trees, that's a crucial moment. Those trees can get tricky, and you can clip one of those branches and not realize, and you goes flying. But the bridge is where it gets technical and where it starts to get crazy. UFO holding on to first. You can see Fine Katie and FPR Dan moving into striking distance. FPR Dan takes over and jumps into the top position at first place. Fine KD. Oh, that was a horrible mistake. I think that was FPR Dan, but I can't confirm if that was him or not. Here's the herder's view from 5th in the back of the pack. The drop down around the side of the bridge and into the woods. You can see UFO's got a great distance ahead of him. FPR, Dan, and Fine KD, they're all spaced enough. No one's going to make any passes at that point. It was his race to win. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And you could see he just a sigh of relief. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. All those nerves just literally just melted away right now. He got that win. That's what he needed. He did a great job. He came to win, and he's doing it. That's awesome. And with the final heat, we officially have our first 3 finalists. They are FPR Dan 1, UFO, and Fine KD. Now let's head over to our host, Susanna Collins, for an interview with one of our finalists.
All right, I'm standing by with UFO. That was a heck of a final heat. How did you pull that one off?
Oh, man, I don't know. To be honest, that was kind of a crapshoot for everybody there. We were just doing our best to hold it together, and it just happened to lay that way. So I'm really grateful, though.
I saw you give the prayer hands at the end of it. What are the emotions that go through this? I mean, what is your body and all the adrenaline kind of doing?
Yeah, massive adrenaline dump, tons of nerves, shaking. You end up locking up a lot of the time, but you got to keep it breathing. You got to keep it loose and just stay positive, like Dan said.
You're notorious, I hear, for kind of visualizing, closing your eyes in between these heats. How do you maintain that focus, especially heading into the finals here?
Yeah, I've been practicing meditation. That's something I'm not normally into, but I've been trying that out, and it seems to be working really well, so I'm going to keep it going.
Well, good luck the rest of the way. Thanks so much for your time, UFO. We are going to take a quick break, guys, but stick around because we're going to have much more of the Swatch DRL tryouts when we return.
Drone Racing League, DRL, and Nico, the leader in RC, the first FPV racing drone designed by pro racers for future pilots. Feel the thrill of professional drone racing from Nico Air and DRL.
This is DRL, the Drone Racing League.
The first 2 DRL seasons are now available for download on iTunes. Binge watch all the heart-stopping, breathtaking action, to get you up to speed and catch up on anything you missed.
You've got to be kidding me.
That may have been the greatest pass in drone racing history.
That was so fun to watch. Woo!
The Drone Racing League Seasons 1 and 2. Download today.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Swatch DRL Tryouts. We are live from the Mixer NYC studio at the flagship Microsoft store in New York City. I'm your host, Susanna Collins, and I've been following along with what you've had to say in Mixer and on Twitter. So here are some of my favorites. Mixer user Stripe9998 is cheering for his favorite, saying, go, pew, pew. I think I did that right. And your boy DZ123 said, I want to try this. Well, hey, luckily, the DRL simulator is available right now on Steam. So you can. User J Mitch plays games, agrees. He says, I am downloading this right now. Same. User Off Kilter said, sweet, drone races in a game format, killer. And finally, the Jewish Bear said, I wish I was this good at the game. Much respect for these seriously talented players. Amen to that. That is all we've got for now, but keep sending me your thoughts. But right now, let's head over to our casters to start the next group.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. I think someone stole my screen name, Jewish Bear.
So, yeah.
Tony, for anyone just joining us, let's talk a little bit about the action we just saw from the first group.
That was incredible. I mean, these guys handled it really well. UFO, I talked about him many times, and I'll continue to talk about him, especially considering he came from the qualifying rounds with nothing but first place wins, and then jumped into here, had a little bit of an upset towards the beginning, but quickly recovered just as we predicted and we hoped. It was a great run, and then especially in that last heat, I mean, those movements and switches back and forth right before the finish, that was intense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we get started, we have a special treat for you guys. We've got a look at last year's DRL Tryouts champion, Jaws. He's an incredible competitor, and he has been killing it this past year. So take a look.
Jaws is going to hold on. Jaws has the unique distinction of being the first pilot recruited to DRL through a video game tournament.
We're here at Webster Hall for the DRL 2017 tryouts.
Before I ever picked up my first drone, I spent 40 hours in a simulator.
Jaws is all alone. He's going to win the heat. Jaws is your winner of the heat and the tournament.
This is level 4, the Boston Foundry, and it all comes down to this final heat.
It's over, Craig.
Jaws makes it official, first in the event.
This feels amazing. I can't believe I actually pulled it off. I won. I know now that I can compete with these top pilots.
Awesome. And now that last heat, a lot of players were making some mistakes in the last one, more so than they were making previously.
Yeah. No, the last heat always is going to have the most pressure these guys are going to experience through the entire race, especially when it's a heat that matters the most. You know, when these guys get to a point where they have plenty of points on the board and they don't really have to worry so much about that last heat, then it's a different story. But in this situation, during that semifinal group, that wasn't the case. These guys were up and down on the board. Every single little bit counted for them. And that's exactly why we saw such an aggressive push to that final first place finish that we could possibly get. and that's what created all those nerves and created all those mistakes and crashes and movements on the board. Specifically that. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on that heat.
How important is the camera angle for each player?
Oh, it's extremely crucial. Now, camera angle can throw off your entire game if it's not set to what you're comfortable with. The more camera angle you have, the more your drone has to then pitch forward to be able to see in front of you. Now, the more you pitch, the faster your drone's going to be moving. If you pitch it too high or put your camera angle too high, then you have to pitch forward too much, and that causes your drone to go into the ground. Not enough, and you'll go up to the sky without getting any forward momentum. So getting just the right amount of pitch for your camera angle is imperative to your flying. I mean, if you don't have it just right, it throws off the whole thing.
Yeah, now I want to talk about the controller. There's a special name for it, Tyrannus. And sorry, there's a special name for the controller, Tyrannus,
right?
Which I think is an awesome name. Like, where did this controller come from? How did this controller come to be?
You know, that's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that. I'd like to know myself where the Tyrannus came from, but it is a pretty awesome controller. These guys, most of these guys are all using that controller for the most part. There are a few different variations of that controller as well, but having a good controller in your hand and one that you feel comfortable with, there's a look at the golden Tyrannus right there.
Oh man, and that is the trophy they're going to win.
That is one of them. Yes, this is essentially a staple in drone racing. That's one of the most popular controllers that's on the market.
And you can customize the movement of it, or the what would you call it,
the sensitivity.
The sensitivity.
Yeah, you can adjust all of that. If you want to make the sticks more sensitive or less sensitive, tighter, looser, whatever you'd like. You can even make them taller and shorter if you wanted to.
That's awesome.
Now let's get our second group started. Maybe one of them will be the next Jaws. Let's welcome the players who will be competing. Flying the red drone, it's Robo Genesis from Port Angeles, Washington at the age of 25. Again, another Boston Foundry map. That's his favorite here.
He led most of the heats in the quarters. He's very calm and has great composure. I think he's going to go a long way.
He absolutely is. Let's check out the blue drone. It's Sly Guy Kyle from Santa Ana, California, age of 26. Another Boston Foundry favorite. All these guys seem to love that track.
He fought back and forth in the quarterfinals, and he was 1 point behind FPR Dan 1 in the quarters.
Yeah.
So I love his attitude.
He's a great character.
Great.
Yeah. Next up, it's Fluxy in yellow from Los Angeles, California. At the age of 27, this guy likes the London World Championship course. That's his favorite.
And he proved it by getting the first in his quarterfinal bracket. And I'm excited to see where he goes.
My bearded brother over there.
Bearded brother.
Next will be FP Vegan in purple from Slocan City, British Columbia, the age of 34. Another London map. That's his favorite, the World Championship course.
And he set at a comfortable 3rd place in the quarters. Let's see if he has what it takes to move on.
I think he does. And finally, in orange, it's Kato, the brother of Jaws, actually, from Montreal, Quebec, age 21. Sorry, we were looking at Pew Pew for a second there. This is Kato from Indianapolis, Indiana, at the age 29. His favorite map, the Boston Foundry.
And he was 1 point behind, finishing in 3rd in his quarters. And he was one to watch out for as well.
And finally, in green, it'll be Pew Pew from Montreal, Quebec, age 21. His favorite map, guess what? It's the Boston Foundry.
And he did everything he could to take the lead from UFO in the quarterfinals. They were neck and neck. Let's see if he can move on and finish in 1st without UFO.
He's a fierce competitor. Watch out for him.
All right, we are about to get into the first heat. Tony with the new bracket. Woods map again. I feel like this is a much more complicated bracket. How are you feeling with this bracket?
It was worrisome when I saw it. I mean, these guys are incredible. I mean, I've watched these guys come up the ranks to the top 24 in the tryouts before the tournament, and these guys, a lot of them were just on top of the boards. Robo Genesis, Sly Guy Kyle, Fluxy, FP Vegan, Pew Pew, and Kato. I mean, every single one of these guys was in the top of these leaderboards. So it's going to be an incredible battle in this round. I'm excited for it. I'm a little worried. I'm a little scared, but I think it's going to be awesome. Robo Genesis, Sly Guy Kyle, and Fluxy. I think we're going to see some magic out of these guys.
Awesome.
Here they go into heat number 1. Robo Genesis jumps into the lead right away in the red drone. Vegan takes a little bit of a pass on him. We'll see if Robo can come back from that. He may not realize that he passed yet, and he may not be able to see him in his view. FP Vegan getting into the mix and jumps into 1st. Now Kato comes up there. Robo Genesis takes back his 1st place position up the top of the power lines, and on the drop back down, this is Sly Guy Kyle's view. As he swings left into the forest, splits the trees, nicely done. Robo Genesis and FP Vegan in his sights off to his left and his right, just above. This is Kato's view. He jumps back into the mix, stays tight to the inside. A good strategy. You can see Kyle's not moving very far off, takes an inside tight turn. Vegan's view over the bridge, beautifully done. And a hard right turn to the next gate. This is that incline we talked about. It's really tricky. And these guys do it beautifully. That was an interesting line from Kato. I've never seen someone come down the side of that bridge. That was an amazing, amazing strategy. Kato currently sitting in 3rd place behind Fluxy and Robo Genesis. Robo Genesis will take the lead with a 104.44, and everyone else just following quickly behind.
Oh, man.
No margin for error there. They were right on him.
That was the most perfect run I've seen of that map.
That was incredible. A little sigh there from Fluxy. Kato, I'm not sure how he feels on that one. He got 3rd place overall, so that's pretty good. I mean, getting himself with 5 points on the board to start off first heat, nothing to falter about. That's a great start. Robo Genesis with an excellent run with a 104.44. I mean, that's as good as we want right there. They're in that 104 bracket. If they can break 104, that's even more incredible.
Yeah, they should definitely take that first. Robo Genesis with the lead at 10 points. Fluxy not too far behind with 7. Kato at 5. Sly Guy Kyle at 3. Pew Pew at 1. And FP Vegan needs to catch up. He's at 0.
Unfortunately for him, he gets the big 0 for that heat. Now, I think Vegan has it to shake. He can shake that off. He can get himself back into the position he needs to be. I think he's got it. I've seen this guy race enough times. I've talked to him enough on a personal level. He's got the composure that he needs. He's got the focus and the concentration. He knows what he's doing. He's done this course many times. He's got this. First round, we'll call it first round nerves, okay? I think he has what it takes to come back. Let's take a look at that replay. It says Robo Genesis is raced from the beginning and then slowly drops down just a little bit. Kato and FP Vegan getting into the mix. Fluxy FPV in the yellow drone, you can see him. He's jumping back and forth from 5th to 4th, going up and down. Sly Guy Kyle battling it out with him. The whole pack still relatively close. And that's why you see some of those transitions and moves on the leaderboards, because they're so close to each other that they're just kind of going forward and backwards just a little bit, just enough. And every time they pass a checkpoint is when it registers and updates the leaderboard. There's Kato's view staying tight to the inside. Does a great job. He's in 4th place currently. He will pick up that extra position later on and goes into 2nd, which is fantastic. Now there's a move coming up from him that I haven't seen from other pilots before. And watch, we'll see it just in a second here as he comes down the other side of the top of the bridge here. Most pilots don't come around that left side over there. They come down where the gate is. He came around on that other side, the left side, and brought it in tight to the edge. That was a good strategy. Robo Genesis, he's got clean air up front. No one in front of him to bother him. He'll take 1st place.
Now, Kato is the brother of Jaws, correct?
That's correct.
Do you think he might have learned that strategy together as brother and brother?
You know, it is very possible. He's going to have a lot more pressure, I think, because knowing that his brother won last year, he wants to prove that he can do this as well. So he's going to have a little extra added pressure here.
Yeah, well, he has a great trainer.
He does.
So Heat 2 is about to start. Do you think Robo... I'm not going to ask you yet who you think is going to win because it's too early on in this special bracket.
Right.
But what do you think is going through the minds of everyone other than Robo Genesis? Because they look like they need to catch up to him.
They're probably thinking, I need to beat Robo Genesis.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out how to do that because the guy is a beast on the simulation. He's incredible. Like I said, he's held the top leaderboard times all through the tryouts. He's held the top leaderboard times on every single track in the simulator. So these guys, I know for a fact that when they saw that they were going to be matched into a group with him, they all had just an instant, oh, what are we going to do? You know, like this is not okay. Because the guy is incredible at this game. So they're thinking, what do I have to do to beat him? What do I need to do?
Yeah. Well, Heat 2, here we go.
We'll see if anyone can change it up here. Heat number 2. Off the podiums, Robo Genesis in red right there, jumps to the front of the pack. Again, FP Vegan and Pew Pew going back and forth with him. Looks like FP Vegan's moving to the front of the pack. He knows what he needs to do. With that 0 points base in the last heat, he's got a lot of work here. No mistakes can happen on his part. There they go up to the top of the power lines. This is Kato's view. Vegan just above him to his right in his view. And dropping down, staying close to that power line through the trees. Takes a lower approach from Kato. That's a smart move. Stay down, get down there low, move around close to the ground, stay tight. Cuts the inside, takes the left side there. Robo Genesis not holding on to 1st place. FP Vegan is not letting go of that. Oh, he did. Robo Genesis took the pass. We'll see if Vegan can bring it back. He drops to 4th place. FP Vegan must have contacted one of those gates, caused him to go down. Sly Guy Kyle in the mix in 2nd place. He's got this over the train tracks and the berm. They'll go back through the forest. It's Robo Genesis in the lead. He's got it all to himself. Pew Pew moving into the mix in 3rd. Sly Guy Kyle takes 2nd. Nicely done. A 104.21 for Robo Genesis. There's a sigh of relief from him right there.
Vegan had the lead for most of that heat.
He really did. And that one little mistake going through that bridge, that's what cost him.
That's definitely what cost him. Robo Genesis coming out of nowhere with the win again. It's going to be hard for these guys to pull out a win over Robo Genesis.
And that, like I said, we've seen this many times in the previous to the tournament, in the tryouts. Robo Genesis just dominates those leaderboards. Comes in with a 104.21. Sly Guy Kyle representing it coming into the top of the pack at second. He'll get 7 points for that one. Great job from him, and he needed that. This is what Sly Guy Kyle needs. He needs to get that increase in points little by little, not necessarily trying to get the first. Remember, it's a points game, so it's not about just getting first place. It's about getting enough points to stay in the top 3. Obviously, 2 first-place wins for Robo Genesis doesn't hurt him in any way. It's only going to help him.
Yeah, that's huge with 20 points. Do you think, crazy question, do you think Robo Genesis can go on and get 10 the entire heat?
Well, if anyone's capable of doing that, it is that guy.
Yeah.
It certainly is. Robo Genesis, I mean, a lot of times we didn't know that he was a real person. We thought he was a machine.
He still could be.
He could, and I'm not sure. Here's the replay. Robo Genesis jumping into the front of the pack. Now, Vegan, he came off that the previous heat with unfortunately not getting any points. So this is what he needed. He needed to get in front and hold on to that front position. As soon as someone gets in your view, it starts to mess with your mind. Okay, and Vegan was doing a great job holding off these guys and not letting them mess with his heads. Kato's views, he drops back down into the forest, staying close to the ground. That's a good maneuver. Not having to worry about seeing these other guys all around him, staying tight, taking the inside lines where he should be, just as a good player would. Now it's the bridge. This is where it starts to get mixed up. You got these tight turns, and if you don't time them just right or preload your turn, that means turning before your actual turn starts, then you can have some trouble. Robo Genesis screaming up top of the bridge. He'll cut it tight and drop back down. Sly Guy Kyle comes into the mix, and you can see Vegan back there. He had trouble going down. That's where his mistake happened. On that drop down, it looks like he might have contacted that gate and spun into the ground. That's where he ended up losing it, unfortunately.
Now, you mentioned going down low into the ground so you don't see other racers.
Yeah, you want to get them out of your view.
And why is that?
Because as soon as they're in front of you, you ever think about like a fly in your face, right? You get that fly, you kind of want to swipe at it, right? That's the whole thing with these guys. You get someone else in your view, and then what happens, you start to stare at that person and not focus on your race. You're focusing on following that guy. That can throw off your entire race.
Yeah. Well, now let's head over to our host, Susanna Collins, for social media check-in.
Thanks so much, guys. That's right. I'm Susanna Collins, and let's see what you guys had to say on Mixer and on Twitter. Well, over on Twitter, user JDayBaller3 said, "This one is a dope watch." Hey, thanks for watching, buddy. And Nitro Sportsman said, "Y'all need to raffle off that huge drone in the back," and I'm going to apologize right now because that's going home with me. Sorry, buddy. And then on Mixer, user No Way Joseph said, "Those drones look beautiful." Indeed they are. And guys, I'm going to be here all night chatting with you, so make sure you let me know your thoughts. And remember, you can check out the DRL simulator yourself. It's available right now on Steam. But for now, let's head back on over to our casters to start the next heat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. And hey, guys, as a reminder, the 2018 DRL AWC is coming in September to ESPN, Sky Sports, 7 Max M, Disney XD, and other broadcast partners around the world. And we're about to get into the next heat. Tony, I'm going to ask you the question, who do you think will reign for the top?
It changes every single time. FP Vegan has something to prove here. He's unfortunately not been doing too well. He had that first place all through that race until that one little mistake. I want to say we're going to see him get first in this next one.
All right.
I'm going big. Okay.
Yeah, you're going big.
I think the guy knows what he could do this. I think the nerves are just kind of getting to him. The cameras are getting to him. The pressure's getting to him. He could do this. Just breathe, relax. He's got that. Look at that face right there.
Take a note from UFO, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Eyes closed.
Yeah, exactly. That might be what he needs to do. But I think he could do it.
Now, who do you think will win overall for the top bracket seed?
Do you mean like the whole entire competition?
Semifinals of this bracket.
Just here. Ooh, that's a close one. Let me get back to you on that one.
Take your time.
I gotta think about that one a little bit. Robo's doing great.
He's doing great.
Who knows?
He is doing tremendous.
The focus on these guys' faces right now, it's incredible.
Yeah, and it's so crazy how seeing the difference between the London map and this map.
Yeah, very different. This map's deceiving. Here we go. The next race underway. Sly Guy Kyle moving to the front of the pack in blue, but quickly loses that position to Robo Genesis and FP Vegan. Sly Guy Kyle drops to 4th overall, unfortunately. This is Fluxy's view, I'm sorry, from the rear of the pack. All these guys, look how tight they are. That's incredible to see. These guys, that's what shows you these guys are all close to the same level of competition. They're right on top of each other. FP Vegan moves to the front of the pack. Robo Genesis just behind him. I got a feeling Robo Genesis might just be holding off for a minute, not trying to push too hard and risk a crash. Vegan in the front. This is close. Robo Genesis takes over. Now it's the bridge. Everything could change right here. It's the Sly Guy Kyle's view over the top of the bridge. Had a little mistake. Moves back to second. Oh, and Sly Guy Kyle loses it and drops to sixth. That's not good for him. FP Vegan's view of fourth. He's got to catch up on this drop. Increase that throttle and drop as hard as you possibly can. Robo Genesis in the lead. Pew Pew right behind Vegan. These guys are pretty close. Who knows what's going to happen around this next turn? Robo Genesis, though, has clean air up ahead. Ooh. He'll take first overall with Pew Pew in second and Vegan right behind in third.
Wow. Robo Genesis again with the win for this heat. And Sly Guy Kyle, he had it. And then he crashed.
He did. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out where he went wrong on the replay, but I couldn't quite tell what happened or what went wrong for him. But that was a devastating hit for him. It dropped him all the way back to sixth place.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking right there.
That is heartbreaking. Robo Genesis with the 1 minute, 4 seconds, and 43 millisecond time. And that's almost not close a second, but Pew Pew not far behind.
Not far at all. He'll take second overall on that race. So 105. Usually these guys are sitting in the 104s. We usually see the top 3 or top 4 guys all within that 104 time frame. Not this time. Pew Pew drops back to a 105, and so the rest of them even farther back.
Yeah. Now, what I would love to see, and I can't wait. Oh, we got the score breakdown. Robo Genesis sitting pretty at 30 points. I feel free that I think he clinched it.
I think he clinched it. If we can get confirmation, I'm pretty sure that 30 points with a 5-heat bracket here does clinch his spot in the top 3. Now, it's up to Pew Pew, Fluxy, Sly Guy Kyle, even Vegan and Kate. No one's out of it at this point. There's 2 more heats to go. Any one of these guys to move into position to move into second and third and hold on to a top 3 position.
Now, let's go into the replay.
Let's take a look. We'll find out if we can see where Sly Guy Kyle made his mistake that cost him that run. Meanwhile, in the front of the pack, it's Robo Genesis and FP Vegan going back and forth. Vegan holding a nice close line to the inside, and they're all generally close to each other at this point. Up through the power lines. Look like Sly Guy Kyle might have moved to the far right of the power lines, but brings himself back in, and Robo Genesis actually swung wide, and I think that's what allowed FP Vegan to stay in front right there. They're staying tight on the inside turns here through the forest, and again, here we are at the bridge. This is the tricky section of the course. Robo Genesis doing a wonderful job at the front of the pack. This is Sly Guy Kyle's view from second place. Okay, there was the mistake right there underneath that bridge. Kyle ended up connecting with either the gate or the ground. I'm not sure which one of those, but that's what caused that devastating move from the second all the way down to 6th place overall. That drop, a little bit of a mistake there, a little bit of a fumble through the trees now. This is Vegan's view of 3rd place. And a solid run from them. Look at that. We had several guys at that 105 time frame, so they were all fairly close to each other.
Now, because Robo Genesis may have clinched, do you think he's going to, if you were him, back up a little bit, maybe play it easy, or keep on pressuring other players?
If it were me, I would certainly relax. Okay. But this is not me. This is Robo Genesis, which there's the reason his name is Robo Genesis, right? We all think this guy's a robot. He likes to have first place. He wants the top times. He wants, if he can get 5 runs in a row of 10 points each, first place every single one, I think he'll go for it. I don't think we're going to see him hold back here at all.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Now let's head over to our host, Susanna Collins, for an interview with one of our players.
All right, standing by with Robo Genesis. Okay, they called you a robot. They called you a beast. You are clearly the one to beat here, leading the pack with 30 points so far. How do you maintain this level?
Lots of practice. I was a little concerned that I had practice going outside the power lines with the flight line. I was a little concerned I might lose a little time there, but I think sticking with what I know and just make up a little time on the bridge, I think I can pull it.
Well, it's all about preparation for you. You've done 4,000 lines of this. How do you keep that level up, and what has impressed you most about the guys that you're competing with right here?
I think like UFOs staying pretty consistent, or had been.
Anybody else come to mind? You're zoned in. You're so calm, cool, and collected. How do you not get distracted by everything that's going on and just stay focused on the task at hand?
Really, I don't pay attention to anything else. It's what I'm here to do. So.
Got a job to do, and he's doing it. All right, thank you so much. Let's send it back over to our casters.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. We got the bracket right here. We have our 3 players that are definitely moving on to the finals. UFO, FPR Dan1, and Fine KD. What is it looking like for Group 2?
Well, I think we're looking at Robo Genesis. We're looking at Sly Guy Kyle right now. We're looking at Fluxy. I think these guys can hold on strong. I would love to see Vegan push his way back up there. He was one of my favorites. I wanted to see him kind of get up there, but I think Robo, Sly Guy, and Fluxy, kind of have this one.
I'm excited to see Robo face off against FPR Dan.
Yeah,
because you mentioned that FPR Dan 1 was the only one to beat Robo Genesis' score in the leaderboards.
They were right next to each other on those leaderboards overall through the tryouts period. FPR Dan was just right on his tail. I think there was one time where he actually did pass him in the leaderboards, but instantly, once Robo got word of it, took him right back over. So we'll see what happens going into the finals, but I got a good feeling. Obviously, Robo Genesis will be moving on. He's clinched that position.
Yeah, absolutely. Heat 4 is almost underway. I'm sure everyone's hands are pouring with sweat, shaking. I would not be able to do this. I tried this game with you, and I was terrible at it. How many hours or weeks or months of practice do you think you need to get to just get even to Robo Genesis' state of play?
Well, I mean, we're talking about a guy that spends a lot of hours practicing, who wants this, who's very, very, very dedicated to this simulation and this tournament and this tryout and getting into a spot on the DRL season. This guy, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of practice, and I think if anyone could do it, it's certainly him. The guy is focused hardcore on what he needs to do, and he doesn't let other things bother him or distract him. He just focuses on what he needs to do. He shuts out everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see the next 2 who will be, the bracket seed number 2 and seed number 3.
Yeah.
Because if Robo Genesis has clinched that first spot, it's all a fight for number 2 and 3.
Absolutely. Sly Guy Kyle's got a great chance of getting himself into the top 3 and holding on. He's already in there, but he's holding on to that top 3 position. I think he's definitely got what it takes. I'd still like to see Vegan come back up.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This map is so wide open.
Yeah.
It's so different from other maps that are in close quarters.
Right.
You can see everyone neck and neck. And we're about to see that in the next heat. Here it comes.
Let's take a look. Lo and behold, Robo Genesis up to the front of the pack. Again, FP Vegan and Kato fighting for that 1 and 2 spot. I'm sorry, the 2 and 3 spot. Now Vegan moves into the mix at first place. Robo Genesis drops back. I don't think he's holding back, though. I think he's just concentrating on his line and doing what he needs to do. He's not letting those other pilots get in his head. Kato jumps into the first place position over the power lines. This is Robo Genesis' view as he takes back over his position. Back through the forest, it's FP Vegan jumping into the number 1 spot. Robo Genesis dropped to 3rd. Hadn't seen that for some time, and he's going back and forth between him and Kato in 2nd and 3rd place. Here's where it all changes. Under the bridge, Kato's view swings a little wide over the top of that bridge. Robo Genesis gets back on his groove in the first place. FP Vegan and Kato, you're 2nd and 3rd. Unfortunately for Fluxy, Sly Guy, and Pew Pew, they're your bottom 6 right now. Robo Genesis dropping down the side of the tower. FP Vegan get in the mix. Oh, contact hits the tree, goes down. Robo Genesis, Fluxy, and Sly Guy, you're 1, 2, 3. Sly Guy moving into the mix, trying to take 2nd and hold on. He does it looks like. Robo Genesis will take 3rd. Oh, Sly Guy didn't hold on. The last second he got passed. Let's wait for the official results on that one, but what a run from Robo Genesis. I mean, the guy's got this, man.
He just keeps coming back and back and back.
It's amazing to me that he lets the passes happen. If someone gets ahead of him 1 or 2 positions, it's almost like he's saying, yeah, no big deal.
Take it. I'm going to come back anyway.
Yeah, do what you want up there for a little while. I'll let you dance in 1st and 2nd, but I'm going to take it overall at the end. And he does with a 104.16. Fluxy, the last hair of a second, comes in and steals 2nd place from Sly Guy Kyle with a 104.79. Look how close Sly Guy Kyle was. A 104.85. Talk about a close run.
A blink.
That's like less than a propeller distance away. You know, I mean, that's right there.
And we have our board up. Robo Genesis again. 40 points, 10 on that Heat 4. Fluxy 17, Pew Pew at 16, Sly Guy Kyle at 15, FP Vegan at 8, and Kato at 8. Ooh, it's a close one.
I mean, look at the positions 2, 3, and 4, right? Fluxy, Pew Pew, and Sly Guy. Their only difference is 2 points.
Yeah,
that's it. From 15 to 17, these guys still have a chance to hold on to that 2 and 3 spot and get themselves to the finals. I mean, this is incredible. Robo Genesis showing us an incredible run again, holding on to 4 first place. I think we might see 5. I told you he wants it.
Oh, he wants it, and because he wants it so much, he's making it that much harder for the players to get 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
Because if he would back off, someone can get maybe 1st, and then get that easily, but he is not letting it. I'd be scared. If I was in the finals bracket with him, I would be petrified.
Oh, and these guys were. They told me. Let's take a look at that replay. Robo Genesis in the red drone here jumps to the front of the pack. Now, he lets it go a little bit up ahead. No big deal. We talked about him not really minding so much that these guys get ahead of him because he knows where to make up the difference. And I think he makes up the difference on that drop from the bridge, from the top of the bridge, and then he swings back into the forest. It seems like every time he goes through the bridge, he may not be holding on to that first place position, but he does it right afterwards. There's a strategy behind his drop. Well, hopefully we can see it on the next run. FP Vegan jumps into first place, and we've seen this before where FP Vegan gets into first and then somehow loses that edge and drops back down in 1 or 2 positions. And I think that all just happens right here in this mix at the top of the bridge. If your line is not cut super tight to the edges of that bridge, you can lose it. One wide swing out, and there goes your spot. Robo Genesis up top, you can see him off in the distance. There's his red drone. It looked to me that he started flipping his drone over before the normal position and increasing his throttle before someone else does, which is why he gets such a big jump on this last stretch. A beautiful run by him.
Yeah, and that FP Vegan crash in the ground was huge for him.
Well, and Sly Guy Kyle just missing out on second place right at that last. I mean, just between those 2 checkpoints, that's where the change happened, because I saw him in second.
Yeah.
And then once they came in,
boom,
it was not the case.
Okay, guys, we are about to get into the final heat for our second group. Tony, who do you think is going to get second and third?
Well, you don't want to talk about first, or what?
I mean, I feel like we already know.
Okay.
He's clinched first.
All right.
He has, hasn't he?
Yes, he's there. I mean, Sly Guy Kyle, Fluxy. Those are going to be your 2 and 3.
You say Sly Guy and Fluxy.
That's what I'm stamp of approval. There it is, right there. Sly Guy Kyle and Fluxy. Off the podiums, waiting for that first checkpoint. It's Robo Genesis in the lead for the first checkpoint, but the next one he drops back down and quickly starts to come back up. FP Vegan, Kato, you're 1 and 2. We've seen this before. This is great for these guys staying tight. Looks like Pew Pew's taking a little bit of a wider angle here in the green drone. He's not quite as tight as the rest of the guys at the inside. It's over the power lines and then the drop down. Robo Genesis doesn't appear to be taking that wide line like he had done in the past. He's in second place currently. Vegan and him are going back and forth. This is Kato's view from third, and these other guys must be right above him because you don't see him in the shot. And there he is. There's Robo Genesis coming up from the top. Through the bridge. Pew Pew trying to push his way from fourth. He does. He's now in second. Pew Pew in the mix. Oh, he hits the gate, goes down. That's a big mistake for him, but somehow quickly recovers and gets back into second place. Robo Genesis still holding on tight. His famous drop and dive down for him to build himself a lot of distance between his other players. FP Vegan in second place, Pew Pew in third. Can they hold on all the way through? Oh, looks like... I couldn't even see what happened there at the end.
Robo Genesis finished first.
We caught that.
We caught that.
So you know what that means.
No surprise there.
That means 5 heats in a row of first place.
First we've ever seen.
So we have not seen that before. This is incredible.
Just give him the trophy now.
50 points on the board. He's still got the finals to go through. I want to know what happened to the rest of these guys. Let's take a look. FP Vegan comes in second with
86,
a 104.
91, 93.
Right? That's incredible. Sly Guy Kyle and Fluxy. I said they were going to be your 2 and 3 there, and unfortunately they were not.
5 and 6. Yeah, Sly Guy, I think, crashed or something happened.
He had a mistake in the bridge, and that's what cost him there. I'm not quite sure what happened to Fluxy, but FP Vegan and Pew Pew, you're 2 and 3. Pew Pew just doing a great job jumping into the top of the mix, and look what that does for him. He's now in the top 3. Robo Genesis, Pew Pew, and Fluxy. Those are your 3 moving on to the finals. That's incredible.
That's
unfortunately,
incredible.
Sly Guy Kyle, FP Vegan, and Kato will not be moving on. But we do have our top 3 from this bracket. Robo Genesis, Pew Pew, and Fluxy FPV. Incredible.
No points in the final heat by Fluxy, and he still manages to clinch.
That's just insane to me. Look at that relief from Fluxy. Man.
He's like, I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
like, what?
I mean, that's just stress just off his shoulders. Let's take a look at the replay. Robo Genesis, again, jumping up to the front of the pack. Unfortunately, drops back and forth. These guys are just so close to each other that every time they go through a checkpoint in a different flight position, that's when it registers for the leaderboards in the top left corner there. They're staying tight. I was talking about Pew Pew, and he's trying to take a slightly wider approach, and that wider approach puts him on the inside for this dive right here. I think that was a good strategy for him to be able to move into position. He was in 5th, and now he's in 4th at this point. FP Vegan and Robo Genesis, you're 1 and 2, going back and forth, and Kato jumps into the mix. They're around the bend, through the forest, and starting on their way to the bridge here. This is Kato's view. He's got Robo off to his left. Robo swings wide off to the right. There's Pew Pew's chance to pass, and he does a beautiful job staying tight to the turns on the bridge. I talked about earlier how these guys need to stay as tight as they can to that bridge, and Pew Pew did a wonderful job there. Robo Genesis just up ahead, dropping over the other side of the tower here, and through the yellow gate. This is your final stretch over the forest, and the berm there. Robo Genesis in the lead. Let's see what happens here. And there was a little bit of changing going on right before the finish, but man, that was incredible.
I think that was the greatest heat I've seen for the final heat.
Right, and absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Robo Genesis getting that many wins, first place in a row, 5 in a row. That's 50 points. I'm blown away at that. That was fantastic. I thought for sure there might be 1 or 2 heats where he might have missed the mark and getting first place and get 2nd or 3rd. Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah,
now let's head over to our host, Susanna Collins, for an interview with one of our finalists, Pew Pew.
All right, Pew Pew, a strong finish there. You're moving on to the finals. How do you build on your performance heading into the finals?
Well, I will try to be consistent, very fast as well, and hope that will make me through to the finals.
Let's talk about this guy, Robo Genesis. How do you beat him? How do you take this guy down?
You can't. He's unbeatable, you know? He's a robot.
He's a robot. I gotta ask about your handle, Pew Pew, because you got a little shout out on Twitter, and I tried to do it. Pew Pew. Did I do it right? Can you do it for him?
Pew Pew.
There it is. There it is. Thank you so much. Hey, good luck in the finals. Thanks for your time. Guys, we are going to take a quick break, but stick around because we're going to have more of the Swatch DRL tryouts when we return.
This is DRL. It's the Drone Racing League.
The first 2 DRL seasons are now available for download on iTunes. Binge watch all the heart-stopping, breathtaking action to get you up to speed and catch up on anything you missed.
You've got to be kidding me.
That may have been the greatest pass in drone racing. Did they hold on all the way through?
The Drone Racing League Seasons 1 and 2. Download today.
I couldn't even...
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Swatch DRL Tryouts. We are live from the Mixer NYC studio at the flagship Microsoft store in New York City. I'm your host, Susanna Collins, and I've been following along with what you've had to say in Mixer and on Twitter. And here are some of my favorites. Over on Mixer, user ZombieKiller1210 says, "This is so wicked." Props for using the word wicked, my man. And Verdian is making an early prediction saying Robo Genesis will win it all. And yeah, he's certainly killing it so far. We're going to see if he can hold on to this streak. And we have APK Underrated saying, wow, gaming is changing, y'all. Yep, sure is. The DRL simulator is the latest in amazing gaming technology. And user That Pie Guy says, the skills these players have is incredible. The DR simulator isn't easy. Do you have what it takes to try it out at home? You can now by downloading on Steam. That's all we've got for now, but keep sending me your thoughts. And now let's send it back over to our casters to start the finals.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. Now, Tony, for any of us just joining, let's talk about the action we just saw in the semifinals.
Well, this was incredible. We saw some amazing races, and most importantly, we saw 5 wins in a row in first place from Robo Genesis. That's the talk of the town right now. To get first place, 5 heats in a row. To get first place 1 heat is difficult enough as it is. 2 heats is hard, okay? 3 heats,
nearly
this
impossible.
is ridiculous. But 5, that's incredible. And hats off to the guy. Amazing runs from him. Very calm, very collective. He just has this. This guy's amazing.
Yeah, there's only going to be 1 winner, 1 contract. I mean, hopefully it's not everyone chasing after Robo Genesis again, because it's going to get into their minds. It's going to be a mental game just like the Woods.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're not going to the Woods again, though.
Exactly.
The finals is on a whole different course, okay? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And that's got a lot of vertical challenges, and it's a lot tighter than what we've seen in the Woods course.
Yeah, it's, I mean, from what I've seen of the map, it's not easy.
No.
It's taking from 10 to 11.
Yeah, but I mean, if any of these guys can do it, it's certainly them. UFO, FPR Dan, Fine KD, Robo Genesis, Pew Pew, and Fluxy. Those are our finalists moving into the finals. It's going to be an epic battle, I think. We've got a lot of talent that races very similar. They've got a lot of close lines. These guys get really bunched up and kind of tight to each other on the courses. I think we're going to see some amazing stuff. Now, going from the course they just flew on the Woods and into what we're going to, which is the Miami Nights course, it's a very different thing. I mean, they've got to transition their whole mindset on what they're used to. That last course, very open up. You can full throttle that thing and really kind of relax for almost the first half of the course. Not the case in Miami
Complete
Nights.
opposite.
I mean, right off the start, you're going through twists and turns and going vertical again. So it's going to be pretty tough. We'll see what they can do.
And we're going to get into that heat just shortly. But these finals are sure to be an epic display of Drone Racing League action. But before we get started, our host Susanna is standing by with the game developer, Ryan Guri. Susanna.
Thanks so much, guys. That's right. I'm standing here with the guy who knows a thing or two about this event and Drone Racing League. First of all, what is the biggest difference between using the sim and flying in real life?
It's pretty close. It's a pretty awesome thing about the sport. In real life, you're looking at goggles, which is a screen, and you're using a joystick. So the sim is pretty much one-to-one. It's a great way to train, to learn how to fly, and it's just a happy coincidence about FPV.
What work has gone into making the sim so realistic?
We have an awesome technology team. The same group who works on the drones can work on the simulator. We model each course one-to-one, so you can compare how well you fly to the actual real pilots. And you know, throughout the year, we'll be issuing a ton of updates to improve the game and make it as more amazing than it is now.
How difficult is it to fly these things?
It's not that bad. Like if you play Halo for the first time, you kind of you're a little rusty and take some time. It's just like a first-person shooter. So the more time on the sticks, the better you get. And it just takes a little bit of muscle memory. But before, it just a couple hours in, you get pretty good at it.
What's the best way for people to acclimate themselves to flying?
Get a controller, and we have a full tutorial section. So if you don't know how to fly, you can go in, you can start from scratch, learn the separate channels of the drone, and slowly start to pop balloons and make corners, and then eventually race.
There's a lot at stake here for these guys tonight. How do you think the winner of this event is going to fare in DRL?
Well, you become a professional drone pilot. You get paid a ton of money. It's a pretty awesome lifestyle. So I'm super excited for the guys. I'm also happy that I'm not competing. And I really look forward to meeting the user and then going through our entire season with them as a real-life drone pilot.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Ryan. Let's send it back over to our casters.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. I am also very happy that I am not competing as well.
Yeah, you and me both.
Now, for the finals, our pilots will be competing in 7 heats. The pilot with the most points after the final heat will be crowned our grand champion.
And we've got some incredible prizes at stake for our ultimate winner. First, a beautiful trophy provided by Swatch. Second, an official Drone Racing League jacket. And finally, a $75,000 contract with the Drone Racing League.
Oh man, now our drone pilots will be competing on a different map for the finals. This time, they're flying on Miami Nights. Tony, tell us about this map.
I mean, there's challenges amongst challenges in this map. Right off the start, you're going right up against the pole and into a VOM. This is a dogleg turn, very, very tight corridor, and then you've got to sweep right outside up to a super high sky launch around the Jumbotron. Okay, that part's not too difficult, but now that you're all the way up here, you've got to dive all the way back down to the field, okay? Now, the field has a Pentagon gate down here, and that's like threading a needle after coming off that huge dive. Now, if you didn't think that was difficult, then the next part will be. All the way up over 100 feet in the air, I want to say it's more than that, to the sky gate. That turn right there is way harder than it looks. Turning around through that sky gate, and now you've got to come down and thread another needle through the legs of the gravity gate. Well, if that wasn't hard enough, we're going to send you into the VOMs. Tight corridors, tight turns, very, very close quarters to each other. No room for error here. They've got a left turn sweeping into a long straight and then a hard right turn. We talked about this course being vertical. It gets vertical again. Out of this VOM, they're going to go through a small gate and up through this helix. Okay, this is like a big walking kind of circular area. They swing up top, almost essentially doing a giant power loop, and then they've got to thread this little needle again, a small circular gate, doing a split S maneuver down below and circling through the helix. Now, up ahead is a very, very small and tight corridor that they have to fly through, and that is only a few feet of room right there. No room for error. They're going through the goalposts, sweeping down underneath and back into these corridors that they had to challenge with earlier. Very, very tight, a hard left and then a hard right into the finish.
I'm sweating.
It's incredible, man.
I'm literally sweating. Oh my God. It just never ends.
This is our most vertical course we have made. It's just literally incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
And then, believe it or not, they're going to do it flying almost full throttle the whole way.
Awesome. We're going to be right back with the finals after a short break.
Drone Racing League, DRL, and Nico, the leader in RC, the first FPV racing drone designed by pro racers for future pilots. Feel the thrill of professional drone racing from Nico Air and DRL.
This is DRL, the Drone Racing League.
The first 2 DRL seasons are now available for download on iTunes. Binge watch all the heart-stopping, breathtaking action to get you up to speed and catch up on anything you missed.
You've got to be kidding me. That may have been the greatest pass in drone racing history. That was so fun to watch. Woo!
The Drone Racing League Seasons 1 and 2. Download today.
It's a mix between an F1 race and a video game, and there's nothing else that exists like that.
Drone racing may appear very easy, but it is extremely difficult. It's not a video game, it's actually happening.
Woo! Yeah! That's a rush.
You have to tame all of this adrenaline and this rush that you have.
Oh my God, what?
You have to be very precise, very consistent.
But you can't move around. The best way for me to explain it is you're in a drag race car. You have this 1,000 horsepower car. You're bumping into the line, and you pre-stage, and then you stage, and you're gonna have a light that goes off, and right before you launch, you need to take a needle and a thread. I need you to thread that needle and then launch.
Flying in general is fascinating, but that's not what got me into FPV. It was the racing part. The rush of speed, the competitive part of it.
Is it a friendly rivalry out here, or are you guys going after one another?
My friends are no longer friends. They're competition. We're going after one another.
My style, they call it dangerous.
I'm hoping for #1, obviously.
I want to beat people in a race. I get a little more aggressive, sometimes a little reckless.
We've been battling it out these last few days.
I want to fly against other people, and I want to beat them to the finish line. We can still be friends afterward, but I want to beat them.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mixer NYC studio at the flagship Microsoft store. We're here for the Swatch DRL Tryouts, where one player will walk away with a $75,000 contract with the Drone Racing League. Now, without further delay, let's meet our 6 finalists. They battled it out in 2 rounds of intense action, leading to the finals here right now. Flying the red drone, it's Robo Genesis from Port Angeles, Washington at the age of 25. Doc said earlier, his favorite map, the Boston Foundry course.
And he is the first player to get all first places in each heat in the Woods map.
Absolutely, it's incredible to have 50 points out of that round. That was insane.
Yeah, I'm scared for everyone else.
In the blue drone, it's UFO from Healdsburg, California at the age of 32. Look at his fastest lap, a 45.22. That's impressive.
Yeah, UFO, if anyone can beat Robo Genesis, I would say it'd be UFO and FPR Dan 1. Not to say the other players cannot, but these are the 2 that I would say are the closest.
Well, who are the 2 focused people we've seen, the most focused? Been UFO and Robo.
Yeah.
Next up, it's FPR Dan in the yellow drone from Newcastle, New South Wales, age 27. He's got a fastest lap of 34.08.
And the only player to beat Robo Genesis in the leaderboards.
It's true.
They're facing off.
Yeah.
Can he do it again?
I think he's got a chance.
Would you put your money on it?
No. No. Next up, it's Find KD in purple from Allentown, Pennsylvania at the age of 23. Fastest lap here, a 40.45.
I would love to see Find KD make it to the top. I love his energy. I love his attitude. The most positive person I've seen today.
He really is. He's a good guy. Next up is Pew Pew in green from Montreal, Quebec, age 21. He's got a 45.21 on the board. That's a great time.
Pew Pew, 17 points in the semifinals, but that does not mean he can't win it.
No, absolutely. He still has a chance here.
Yeah.
Finally, in the orange drone, it's Fluxy from Los Angeles, California at age 27. He's holding on to a 41.39.
And Fluxy just barely squeaked out, getting 0 points in the final heat. Still managing to clinch.
Look at him. He says, I made it. I made it.
He just happened to be here. Okay, guys, we're about to get into our first heat of the finals. Tony, we're in a different map. We have different players. What are you most excited to see?
I'm excited to see how fast these guys can transition through this course. Now, we're talking about a very tight and aggressive and vertical course, which was not like the last couple courses that we've had to run with. I mean, there were some vertical challenges, but this takes it to a whole different level. So I'm excited to see what these guys do with those turns, how sharp they ended up taking them, and we'll find out right now. Here we go. It's the first turn. Robo Genesis in the lead all the way out of the VOM. He's up top around the Jumbotron. That's incredible. No mistakes from him. Just a super solid run so far. Find KD and UFO following behind in second and third. They're swapping places now through the Skygate. Now the gravity legs. It's around the goalpost and back into the Vom. Robo Genesis literally just a machine.
Tightest turns I've ever seen
This
right
is
now.
incredible. Fluxy FPV's view from fourth now moves into third. Now back to fourth. He's going up and down. I can't even keep up with it. FPR Dan moving around as well with him. These guys are right on top of each other. That's what that means. Little mistake there. I couldn't quite tell who it was from.
Fluxy.
Robo Genesis still holding on to the lead. He brings it in with a 36.78. That's incredible.
God, that's faster than the what?
That's an incredibly fast time. I mean, talk about the last course we just ran, and now go to this. How much action was that?
A minute to 36
I could barely
seconds.
keep up with what was going on here.
I wanted to wipe off your forehead with the towel.
That was incredible. Robo Genesis, UFO. Look at these guys.
Fluxy was doing very well, and then he crashed in that corridor.
Oh,
he hit
man.
that wall.
Let's see if we can find it on the replay in a minute, but let's talk about these times real quick. Robo with a 36.78. UFO, he wasn't even right on top of him. 39.27. And then we had a few guys at the 40 time frame. 40.07, 40.58, 40.94. And I'm just getting information that the Robo's time is the top 10 time overall. Like overall.
Yeah. Like leaderboards of the world.
You can set a fast time at home and expect to do it in your own comfort of your home, next to your computer and your chair. No pressure, no lights, no nothing. But to do it here, that's insane.
Oh my gosh. Well, Robo Genesis again, number one. If I had $1 for every time I said that.
Right?
10 points. UFO with 7. Find KD with 5. FPR Dan 1 with 3. Fluxy with 1. And Pew Pew with 0. It's still a close one because there are 7 heats.
There's a lot of heats to go. This is not a, get up to the top real quick and you're fine. You're not.
Yeah.
You have to. This is where the consistency pattern really comes into play. This is it's a game of attrition. Who can hold out the longest? Who can get those points and not crash? Let's take back another look at that replay. This is Robo Genesis over top around the Jumbotron. And look at the distance between him and the rest of the pack. The rest of that pack is kind of cluttered together, but Robo's just really, truly separating himself. Now the drop down, very aggressive drop. You can tell he was going full throttle around the goalpost and back into the Vom. Look at his line.
Some of the tightest turns I've ever seen.
It's unbelievable. This guy's just got this course pinned. He's done it. I would dare to guess he's probably done it 1,000 times. This guy knows this course like he could fly it with his eyes closed. Back around the goalpost through the last Vom, the hard right turn, and into the finish. Incredible time.
Jeez, he has enough time to have a drink of water before
I'm blown
everyone else
away.
finishes.
Pew Pew was just far back on that one. Unfortunately for him, he must have caused a lot of mistakes and just wasn't able to catch back up. Let's see if he could do it in the next ones. Pew Pew did prove to himself earlier that he can regain control. He can come back from down below on the leaderboards. I think he's able to.
Yeah, and we're about to get into the next heat. Tony, do you think Robo Genesis can stick with it?
I mean, he's proven that he can. I think it goes without asking that Robo Genesis can. Now, this is a new course. This is the first time these guys have flown this course all day and probably since yesterday or whenever they were practicing last. So that first course was kind of a wash. What I call it is a throwaway heat, okay? Because it's the one where they're trying to get it figured out. They just came off of the Woods course, and some of those guys were just sitting down waiting. So we'll see what happens after this.
Yeah, here we go. My heart's racing.
It should be, and so is Robo Genesis racing to the front of the pack. Find KD up there in the mix with him, but loses his position in first, drops back to second and third, going back and forth there. This is that Pentagon gate that's threading that needle up to the Sky Gate. Look at how fast this is. This is unbelievable. Pew Pew had a little mistake going up there, that Sky Gate, and he'll drop down position to fifth. UFO's view into the Vom. Very, very, very tight corridor here. Hard right turn, hard left turn. FPR Dan doing a wonderful job. Find KD dropping down into the Helix. This is their view through that little tunnel. Around the goalpost and back into the Vom once more. Robo Genesis holding on to the lead, and he'll bring it in with a 37.05. Was that faster than before?
Not
oh
fast,
my God.
Very close.
Find KD will take second on that one.
Oh,
Fluxy
my
skeets right back in there, and Pew Pew unfortunately takes sixth again for him.
He, just like in the interview, he said, I have one job to do. I'm blocking everybody out, horse blinders, focusing on the screen, one job, and that's it.
I don't think he realizes we're here.
No. He's, as a robot, he altered the reality he is in.
He really did. You know, it's one thing to have the cameras, okay, and have the people watching, but when you hear commentators talking about your flying specifically, that really changes things. But he's doing a great job of putting all that behind him.
Yeah, let's look at the times. 37.05. Find KD 38.52. So he's catching up.
He is.
He's definitely catching up.
Yeah.
And then we had two racers in 40. Fluxy and Pew Pew 43 and 46. Point breakdown. What does it look like, Tony?
Unfortunately for Pew Pew, he's sitting on the bottom with 2 giant goose eggs. Robo Genesis, the exact opposite, sitting on top with 10s. I mean, that's tough, okay? Pew Pew's looking at that right now. He's hearing me talk about him, okay? He's only got 5 more heats to go. That may seem like a lot, but that can creep up on you very quickly. He knows he's got to get back into his game. He's got to focus on his line to get himself back up those leaderboards. Fine KD's doing a great job being consistent, more or less, at 5 points and 7 points. UFO, a little bit of a drop there. He only gets 3 points, but he's holding on to 3rd place overall.
So someone has to do something to beat Robo Genesis. What can they do?
They got to get in front of him. Yeah. They have to get in front of him, okay? The guy doesn't focus on anyone else, right? He focuses on the track. We've seen that. The guy's just dialed in. Well, how do you beat this guy? In my opinion, you got to get in front of him and be that annoying fly in his face that's going to cause him to steer off of his line and make a mistake. You have to get him to make a mistake to beat him.
Is it possible to do a tighter turn than what we're seeing right now in this replay?
I don't know if that's even possible. Let's take another look. Robo Genesis around the Jumbotron, dropping back to the field. This is what I was talking about, threading that needle and then screaming back up to the sky gate. Look how tight he takes that turn. Most guys seem to float a little bit and go wide, and that's what separates the pack here, but Robo Genesis does a fantastic job sticking to those tight turns. Here he goes around that dog leg and then up through the helix. A complete inverted move there, dropping back down through the helix, and this is that tight corridor I was talking about earlier. Around the goalpost and back into another vom. He's got himself. Yeah, I mean, no mistakes. That was a flawless run. Unbelievable. And to see a flawless run on this course is pretty rare.
Twice in a row.
I don't know what else to say. The guy's got this.
The guy's got this.
He does.
And I'm hoping the other players can make it closer.
Yeah.
Just so we have a close, race.
Yeah.
But if he keeps flying the way he's flying.
So what these guys need to do, you got to get off that podium faster than anyone else, okay? And if you can get into that corridor, that first hallway that you're going into, it's a hard right and a hard left, but then instantly up to the air, right? That's where they can shave time. A lot of guys go hard right, they make the hard left, but they don't instantly pitch back upwards. They float out a little bit. So if these guys can make that happen, I think they can take it.
All right, we're about to get into the next heat. Tony, I have to ask the question. If you were to bet on one player now,
my money would be on Robo.
Robo.
It has to be. Look at the proof is there.
The safety. But last time you went for FP Vegan just to be like, hey, I like the guy.
I did, and I lost the bet, right? I don't want to lose again. I think it's going to be Robo. Let's see what happens.
Oh, man. UFO, again, with the eye closed meditation. One winner, one contract.
Who can get off this podium and get in front first? That's the question. Fluxy did it instantly, but held back. Pew Pew in the mix. He's in the front of the pack right now. Oh, quickly Robo Genesis takes back over. Pew Pew holding on to second right now, up through the Pentagon Gate. Now the Sky Gate, the hard right turn. UFO into the mix. He'll take second place, creeping his way back up. Fine KD jumps in there. UFO must have made a little mistake that set him back a little bit, pushing him to 4th. Now he's down to 5th. He's going back and forth. Robo Genesis, look at the concentration in this guy's face. He is dialed in right there. That's unbelievable.
He's here to win.
He is, absolutely. Here's the finish gate. One of these guys should be coming around right now. They should be seeing him right now. There they are, right there. Robo Genesis will bring it in with a 37.89. Pew Pew right behind him.
And that took a little bit longer than before. I mean, by a little bit, I mean a second, which is nothing.
But it is. But think about a lot can happen within that 1 second. People can move around a lot on those boards, and not this time. Robo held on to it again.
He wins again with 37.89. Pew Pew not far behind. UFO and Fine KD almost 2 milliseconds away from each other at the 39 mark.
Pew Pew's, he's impressing me right now. Okay, the first 2 heats, 0 points.
Goose egg, yeah.
Okay, and look at him now.
To come out second place.
That's his way of saying, look, I know you're fast, Robo, but I'm fast too. Okay, so I'm coming for you. Watch out. This is his little sign of threat for Robo. Robo's going to feel that pressure. He knows he's getting close, okay? Especially for someone to go from 2 0-point heats to now getting second right on his tail. I think he's going to creep his way up.
Do you think Robo Genesis is thinking right now, I got this, this is easy, no big deal?
I don't think talking to him as much as I have and seeing his work in flying, he doesn't come off as that kind of guy whatsoever. He comes off as a very controlled and modest kind of guy. I don't think he's feeling that he's solidified this win. I know he does still get nervous. I know he does still make mistakes. I've seen him make mistakes in the past. Not today, but I have seen it in the past.
So the difference from last year when he was crashing through London, right? Last year. Now he's not crashing at all.
No, right.
He is He's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what you need. You need to be perfect to move on, to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, tied for 15. Fine KD and UFO. Those two need to do something. A tighter turn. I don't know what. Can you even make a tighter turn?
I don't know where you can here because these guys are pushing it pretty tight. So.
Is it a camera angle change? Do they need to change their camera angle?
No, I think it just comes down to them feeling comfortable on their line. You know, it's very easy to overcompensate the controls just a little bit, right? You go to make that hard right turn, and you maybe swing out a little bit. You don't push enough throttle. Those are the little minute mistakes that these guys need to adjust, overcome, make the changes, and push forward.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the replay. Robo Genesis jumping into the lead. Pew Pew fighting for that first place position, trying to take over, and just unfortunately just not enough. Robo Genesis, look, he goes inverted there. He was upside down as he came through that gate. That's incredible. I haven't seen him do that one yet. He's come close to it. He's swung sideways, but for him to go upside down, man, here he goes through the VOMs and the hallways, up through the helix. The concentration on this guy's face is just incredible. Robo Genesis, Pew Pew, UFO, top 3 right now. No one's moving around. They're hitting checkpoints right now, but the movement's not strong. Not until they come out to this corner here. Robo Genesis, Pew Pew, fine, UFO. Those change a little bit. Fluxy drops down. Man.
I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, and I will find out soon. If Robo Genesis wins one more, will he clinch?
You know, I'm not sure yet. We'll have to figure out the calculations
40 points.
on that, and that's the...
We need a calculator.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's get over to our host, Susanna Collins, for social media check-in.
Thanks so much, guys. That's right, I'm Susanna Collins, and let's see what you guys had to say on Mixer and on Twitter. Well, over on Mixer, user No Way Joseph said, racing drones is pretty intense. Trust me, we're all sweating over here. You are not wrong, especially at this Miami Nights maps. It's especially intense, you guys. User Flippy Headshot said, wow, these races are coming down to seconds. Yep, that's exactly right, and that's how you know we have got some of the best drone racing players around right here. And Creamy Crazy X said, the legend, the gamer, it's Pew Pew. He had a great last sheet. Can he do it again? Let's find out. I threw that one in just so I could do the Pew Pew thing again, guys, obviously. And Fallout for Life said, you're the best, Robo. Be the juggernaut you were born to be. He doesn't show any signs of slowing down right now. Guys, I'm going to be here all night chatting with you, so make sure you let me know your thoughts. And remember, you can check out the DRL simulator yourself. It's available right now on Steam. But for now, let's head on over to our casters to start the next heat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. And guys, as a reminder, the 2018 DRL AWC is coming in September to ESPN, Sky Sports, 7 Max M, Disney XD, and other broadcast partners around the world. All right, we're about to get into the next heat, Tony. Do you think they could beat him? Do you think they could beat the robot, the Robo?
You know, I really want to say yes. But it's been proven otherwise so far, and I don't know. The chips are falling where they're falling in Robo's favor, and it's tough for these other guys. The problem is these guys know what they are capable of. They know what times they can get, but Robo's just, I mean, he's dialed. I think he's locked in, and he's not letting go of this.
Do you think it's just a difference of practice time, or maybe all of these players have had the same practice time? What do you think goes into being a Robo Genesis level?
Well, I honestly think it comes down to who can literally block out their surroundings while they're flying. They can block out the other pilots, they can block out the noise, they can block out the cameras, the lights, the people that are standing here watching him, our voices on them. He has that ability to kind of just tune and all of that out and just focus on his line, and that's not easy to do. I mean, myself, as experienced as a pilot as I am, I can't block everything out. Yeah. I hear when people are talking about me, I start to kind of smile and laugh a little bit. This guy, you can talk about him all day. He doesn't change his face.
That's tremendous. That is tremendous. There's a lot of pressure on on all of the players other than Robo Genesis. I mean, there's still pressure on him.
Yeah.
One mistake, like you mentioned, and you're knocked out.
I think we're going to see some of these guys really try to push to take him out.
They have to.
Because they might be realizing they may not have a chance. Yeah. And why not throw the Hail Mary out there and just going to go for it and see if they can get in his head. That's what I would be doing if I was certainly on the bottom of the boards right now, knowing that I'm going up against this guy. I'd be going all out.
Yeah, and here we go, next heat.
off the blocks and into the hall. It's going to be Robo Genesis and Find KD, your 1 and 2. Robo quickly takes over. Find KD has a mistake, goes down to 6th place on the boards. Pew Pew jumping back into 2nd place where he's comfortable. Fluxy FPV now in the mix. Someone's got to put the heat and pressure on Robo Genesis around the goalpost into the bomb. They're not far off from him. He doesn't have a lot of clean air up there. They are tight to him, and that's what these guys need. Robo Genesis in the lead. Fluxy, Pew Pew in 3rd. He's going to try and take that pass. Pew Pew taking the inside, swings a little wide. He goes through the hall. It's going to be Fluxy in 2nd. Someone has a reset there. Robo Genesis goes down. Fluxy FPV in 1st place. FBR Dan takes over and takes the win.
My God.
Fluxy with a 40-56, and UFO will take 3rd. Robo Genesis lost it there.
That's exactly what they needed.
They got in his head. They pushed ahead of him. They got in front of him. They were the fly in front of him and made him swipe, and that caused him to go down.
I really want to make a Terminator joke right now.
That little mistake, and that sets you all the way back.
All the way back. Like I said, one mistake, and you're pushed back.
Yeah, that's what these guys needed, okay? Now,
look at these times.
FPR Dan with a 39.06, a wonderful time. Not as fast as Robo Genesis had been, but I'm not going to take the credit away from him. That was a great push. Robo Genesis made a mistake, and all 4 of these guys above him capitalized on that mistake and took the lead ahead of him.
Yeah.
That's incredible, and didn't let him get it back. Granted, he did have that mistake a little late in the race, but he still could have caught back up a little bit, I think. I think.
Yeah.
FBR Dan, 39.06 again. Fluxy in 2nd place with a 40.56, and look how close UFO was to him.
Not even a second.
A 40.64. I mean, he was right there. Pew Pew with a 41. I thought Pew Pew was going to hold on up top, but he had a little mistake, and that caused him to drop down in position just a little bit. But Robo Genesis, unfortunately, just made a mistake, and that was it.
If KD didn't make that mistake early on, I think Robo Genesis would have gotten last place.
Yeah. Now, I guarantee you Robo Genesis made that mistake, right? That cost him the 1st place, and that probably affected him.
Yeah.
But now that he's staring at this leaderboard right here that we're looking at, I guarantee you he's probably feeling back to normal. Because it'd say, okay, that mistake was devastating, but it didn't devastate my points overall. He's got 31. He's still 9 points ahead of our 2nd place of UFO. FBR Dan at 18. There's a big point gap between those guys.
Yeah.
Okay? 18, 15, 10, 10, our bottom 2. These guys still all have a chance to get themselves up there on top. Whether or not they can steal the win from down on the bottom, that's going to be tough.
I mean, that stopped Robo Genesis from clinching early on, and now UFO and FPR Dan have Robo Genesis in their sights.
Yeah. Keep in mind, it's not about top 3 anymore.
Exactly.
It has to be 1st place to win the overall. Robo Genesis' view around the Jumbotron. Here's the replay. It's Pew Pew in 2nd and Fluxy FPV in 3rd place. Watch Robo's turn here. I mean, with no skip of a beat. The guy's incredible. Around the goal pole. This is Fluxy's view as he heads into that bomb. Preloading his turn. That was a great move on his part. Does it again there and does it again there. That's the moves that get you up into the top positions. Thinking ahead of your turns. Thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. And these guys did it on this run right here. Robo Genesis, he drops right there. Look at those problems he has. He's wobbling back and forth. He ends up hitting the ground on that goalpost, and that's what cost him.
Right at the end there. And would you say the goalpost is the hardest part of this map?
No, not at all. Not at all. But it just goes to show that one little mistake in such a tight, close quarters course can just cost it for you.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, we're running on 37-second times, right? Remember, the Woods course, they were doing, what, 104s, 105s? Big difference from that to a 36-second, run.
Yeah.
There's no room for error here.
Yeah.
One mistake, and you can say goodbye.
Well, I hope that this did not get into the mental state of Robo Genesis, because this could change the entire game for him.
It could.
But we're about to get into our next heat, Tony. What do you think is going through the minds of UFO and FPR Dan now that they see that he is in fact complete?
I think they know what they need to do, and they did it on this last one. They got in his head, they pushed ahead of him, they got in his views, and they allowed him to make a mistake, and they jumped on it. I think they got a little bit of confidence from that run. They're going to try and do it again.
You're like we're at the end of the movie 300, where the spear hits and everyone's like, he's not a god.
Yes, what we all thought may be wrong. I don't know. We'll see if these guys can do it again. I think they're going to try and push again just like they were.
Here we go. The next heat is on the way. Oh.
First off the blocks, looks like it was UFO jumping straight into the front of the position, but has a mistake through that hall and drops quickly all the way down to 6th and then back up to 4th and 3rd. He's going up and down. Robo Genesis, though, in the lead up through the Skygate. A tight turn there. Pew Pew, a familiar spot for him in second place. UFO trying to push up ahead. Here's his view. Preloading that turn. That was a great move. Good strategy. He's going to do it again. He does. And again there. Ooh, a little wobble, but he regains control. Nicely done. Robo Genesis. He's not too far ahead. These guys are still within striking distance. One little mistake. Oh! Pew Pew hits the top ledge and goes down. That puts him all the way back to 6th place.
Oh.
Robo Genesis takes the lead with first 36.84. UFO and Fluxy quickly behind. Woo!
Well, there you go. He was out. He was out to win it.
He really was. That was incredible. Incredible. Pew Pew's devastating mistake in that hall, exiting that bomb. There is no room for error in that tight bomb. I mean, we're talking about a few feet on each side of you. That's it. It's all you got. You make that mistake, hit that top ledge, you're done.
Yeah.
Robo Genesis, he'll still another first place win, man.
I'm curious if Robo Genesis, I doubt this, but purposely did that mistake in the previous heat just to be like, here you guys go. You think you have a chance. No, you really don't.
I don't think Robo Genesis would want to give that away at all. Your overall leaderboard standings as they sit right here in front of us, a 41-point lead for Robo Genesis, so 41-point total overall for Robo Genesis. UFO back a little bit of ways with 27 points. FPR down with 21. Fine KD, Fluxy, and Pew Pew having a little trouble down to 16, 15, and 10. 2 heats to go.
2 heats to go. Robo Genesis almost has this in the bag. If he continues the way he's going, he does.
Yeah.
If he makes the same mistakes that he did on Heat 4, in Heat 6 and Heat 7, then he can lose it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's his game to lose.
It really is at this point. I'll have to find out whether or not Robo Genesis has clinched this title. I'm waiting to hear confirmation from the booth.
Oh, he could possibly clinch it right now. Oh, man, that'd be insane.
If he can win the next one, I think he'll clinch.
Just to win. If he goose eggs, no.
No, right. He's got to win the next one to clinch. We'll see what happens. These guys are dialed in. They're ready to go.
These guys are dialed in. And so, smaller map. 36 seconds.
Right.
Last one we did was 1 minute and 4. London was before that. Right. London, you would say, is the hardest map these players can play.
It's definitely up there.
Would you say that because London was the hardest, and now you go to Woods and now you go to Miami, that it's like a sigh of relief? Like, oh, great, we don't have to do London?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a sigh of relief. It's a challenging course to come into Miami Nights. It's, you know, the most vertically challenged course that we have. And on top of that, it's fast. You know, a lot of courses that are vertically challenged like this, or you would perceive them to be like this, they wouldn't be a very fast course. You'd have to take your time. Not here. These guys are burning around these corners. They're taking them as tight as they possibly can. And it's incredible how fast they're able to do this. I mean, they are almost moving through these corridors faster than I can visually watch them, right? Yeah. It's incredible.
Heat 6 is coming underway. What do you think is going through the mind of UFO right now?
I think he's thinking about his line. I think he's visualizing what his turns are. He's visualizing what he needs to do. He's thinking about his moves. He's probably thinking about the areas he feels the most uncomfortable with and what he can do to change that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All Robos needs this one.
Into the hallway. It's Robo Genesis in the comfortable spot. First place, that is. UFO and Pew Pew, you're 2 and 3. Pew Pew quickly dropping Robo Genesis through the Pentagon Gate up to the Sky Gate. A hard right turn. Nicely done. Almost completely inverted on the way down with a lot of throttle. That's what's going to give him that momentum to push ahead of the pack with clean air and no one around him. Robo Genesis is not trying to let these guys catch up to him whatsoever. Fluxy, FPV, FPR, Dan second and third around the helix. Now through this tight hallway. Around the goalpost. This is Robo Genesis' view of the final straight. He'll bring it in with another win. First place at 37.04. Fluxy and FPR Dan, you're 2 and 3.
He clinched.
He got it. Clinched. I think he's our winner. That's it. That's incredible. Robo Genesis just stole the show.
I'm speechless.
That's unbelievable.
We haven't even finished the heat.
No. That was
Have you seen anything like that before?
No, that was incredible.
Oh my God.
And look at his face. It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. He's just like, yeah, I expected this.
When do his batteries die? I just want to know.
They're constantly being charged.
That's incredible.
Every win he does charges his batteries.
He takes a sigh of relief there, a small smile on his face. UFO doesn't look too pleased.
I mean, UFO was second, dropped to 6, came back up.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
up and down quite a bit. Pew Pew doesn't look too happy there. I think these guys are setting in that this is not.
Yeah. And with that, there is no mathematical way for anyone to beat Robo Genesis. So we have officially have our winner. Stick around and we will hear from our grand champion. We will be right back.
Race to win.
Get to the finish line.
Who's the fastest?
Welcome to the final level of the DRL Allianz World Championship in London, England. Each race ends with a sprint to the Amazon Grand Tour finish gate.
Robo closing the gap. Again, McStrolli holds him off. The final U-turn. Robo, McStrolli. McStrolli takes second. Lily's in the lead. Gab is faster. Gab in the lead into the Great Hall toward the power loop. Jet presses. Gab holds him off into the power loop. This is it. Jet beats Gab to the U-turn. Give us some popcorn. He takes it. Give me some popcorn. That was so fun to watch. Woo! This is DRL. It's the Drone Racing League.
The first 2 DRL seasons are now available for download on iTunes. Binge watch all the heart-stopping, breathtaking action to get you up to speed and catch up on anything you missed.
You've got to be kidding me. That may have been the greatest pass in drone racing history. That was so fun to watch. Woo!
The Drone Racing League Seasons 1 and 2. Download today.
the Swatch DRL Tryouts. I'm Susanna Collins, standing by with our big winner, Robo Genesis. Buddy, you win this. You win $75,000. You are now a drone pilot. Just an absolutely dominating night, a dominating performance. How did you do it?
Just focus on racing. Don't really pay attention to anything else.
How are you feeling in this moment right now? Have you taken it all in?
Nope, still doesn't feel real.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, just congratulations. Enjoy this. You deserve it. What a night, you guys. Thank you so much to Swatch, the Drone Racing League, the flagship Microsoft store in New York, the Mixer NYC studio, and of course our fantastic shoutcasters, Tony Niddle and Josh Sela. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you next time.